and welcome to Access Asia. I'm Delano D'Souza. Coming up, some brave women in Afghanistan defy new ridiculous laws imposed by the Taliban, which seek to erase women's faces and voices from being heard. A commission set up by Bangladesh's interim government given 45 days to investigate enforced disappearances under Sheikh Hasina. Now, it's been 3 years since the Taliban retook control of Afghanistan following the US's chaotic withdrawal. Since they've been in power, virtually no country has formally recognized a Taliban-led government. The Islamic fundamentalist group's policies have taken the women of the country back decades. First, teenage girls were forbidden from attending school. Then, restrictions were put in place on women in the workplace. Beauty salons were soon forced to shut. And now, new vice and virtue laws have been published. Women will be required to completely veil their bodies, including their faces, at all times in public. They can only take a taxi if escorted by a male relative. And get this, they won't be able to sing or raise their voices in public. Some, however, are trying to defy the ban.
Their voices won't be silenced. Despite a new law banning women from speaking out in public, dozens of Afghan women are taking part in an online protest. Both at home and abroad, they post videos, sometimes concealing their faces, with the words, "My voice is not forbidden," and "No to the Taliban." Here we see them go as far as to tear up photos of the Taliban's supreme leader. According to the new restrictions imposed by the regime, they may neither sing nor recite verses aloud, a ban designed to systematically exclude them from public life, as well as those already in place, preventing them from attending university, participating in political life, or from holding jobs outside of home. Back in May, this Afghan poet used her art to convey women's struggles.
They shouldn't deny us access to education. They shouldn't deny us our rights to work and our rights to freedom. I hope this is conveyed to them through poetry.
The UN has expressed concern about the law, and the European Union has also denounced this new obstacle to the normalisation of relations between Afghanistan and the rest of the world.
We can now bring in Fatimah Hossaini, an Afghan artist who was born in Tehran but is based here in Paris. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
What was your first reaction when you heard about these new laws?
Well, I mean, as I always said, I couldn't expect more than this from Taliban. You know, since the August 2021, when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, we all expected that hearing this news every day, you know, we had all these fears that today you see, like one day they closed the schools for some ages, and then they stop women for getting out, and now like stop them to even showing their face. So these are the rules that I really expected Taliban, but it makes me like even more sad and exhausted and angry that how it's gonna continue like this and how it's happening in front of the world's eyes.
Fatima, we're showing your works in the screen behind you. You were an artist and you did work in Afghanistan between 2015 and 2021. You traveled extensively in the country. What was it like meeting and documenting women of the country?
Well, the project that I worked was the project that I staged most of the photos, and it was based in Kabul, the capital, but also I traveled different provinces. But I just went through the life of some specific women artists through this project that I worked, the beauty amidst war. But through the different assignments and projects that I had in Afghanistan, and I have traveled through like different provinces, to be honest, like I could see the different life. The east of Afghanistan were so different from the west of Afghanistan. So regarding the different ethnicities, different provinces, but I could see the different restrictions actually. Even in different provinces, everywhere, not Kabul, you know.
Really?
But it was not that much tough as today. Girls could go to school, they could go out, they could show their face.
They could dream to be doctors and
exactly,
lawyers,
exactly.
It seems that the Taliban doesn't just want to silence women's voices, they want to erase them from society totally. What do you think they're so afraid of?
Absolutely, Liz. I'm sure it's that they are afraid of the women's power, and when the dictatorships and when the extremists also are
But
in
they
the
all
power.
have mothers, they all have sisters.
Exactly.
So what?
But I mean, when they are in the power, the only thing that they can show is just like to put these restricted rules, on women. And the thing is that our question is that why always Taliban just targeted women since they took over Afghanistan, given the dark experience of people of Afghanistan, we had it in 1996. But how they restricted, how they imposed burqa and how they stopped women from so many of the social persons, and they make them more invisible. And now in 2024 they are doing the same. And as I always tell, Taliban have never been changed, and they are not going to change at all.
There are reports of parents having to sell their young daughters to make money, essentially, to survive. Young daughters younger than 10 years old, selling them to 40, 50-year-old men. How desperate do you think that many people in Afghanistan are, that they would do the unthinkable?
Well, most of these things, I think, happening because of this, a big humanity crisis is happening right now in Afghanistan, and this economic crisis is also another part of these things that happened after the collapse, as all the international community left Afghanistan. So, when all these things happening, so what you can expect from people in a conflict zone under Taliban regime?
Now, you taught university in Afghanistan. Are you still in touch with your students, your female students, and what are they telling you? Do they have any hope at all?
I am in touch with my students and with some other girls that I used to be their mentors in Kabul. It's so sad that every day I am receiving emails, messages from girls that they are seeking for help to leave Afghanistan and to at least finding some hopes in the middle of this hopelessness, That's so sad.
You saw the United Nations called the new laws gender apartheid. But the reaction from the international community has been rather muted. As an Afghan woman, how does this make you feel?
Sometimes I really feel betrayed from all around the world, and I just see that how the world lets women of Afghanistan and Afghanistan come to this stage, We just talked a lot. Women went to protest, everything. But every day, the Taliban are opening their embassies in every country, like so many countries. They are just getting permission to travel. They are getting their helps from the different aid and also United Nations. But the only thing that in this part, in this crazy game, is just going more invisible and hurt more is women. It's just women. And I don't know, I'm just speechless about all these blind eyes toward Afghan women.
I saw one survey which UN Women conducted. They said that some 8% of the people they surveyed knew somebody, either woman or girl, who thought of killing themselves, essentially. From the people you're speaking to, I know that there was some underground school movement, but are people inclined to do that, knowing that they can't get a job, they can't go out of their house, and now they can't even speak loudly in public?
You're right. That's the sad part of the story, because when you running these underground schools, or even I am in touch with some of my students that have some online classes and meetings and mentoring them in some ways. But when you are in a prison, when you are in closed doors and you cannot even express your feelings and your even artistic feelings and education, so it's even hurt more, And as you said, of course, so many of the girls and women in Afghanistan now are so depressed, and so many of the underage marriages, suicide, so many things are just increasing very crazily.
Fatima, hopefully, things can change sooner rather than later.
I hope so.
One can hope. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
In other news, authorities in Bangladesh have opened an investigation into the enforced disappearances of over 600 people during Sheikh Hasina's rule. According to Human Rights Watch, 100 people remain unaccounted for after the practice began in 2009. 3 individuals have so far been freed, and the interim government of Muhammad Yunus has given the commission in charge of the investigation 45 days to submit their findings. Navadita Kumari reports.
For 5 years, Michael Chakma, an indigenous rights activist, didn't see any daylight. He was held at a secret detention center in Dhaka run by Bangladesh's special police unit. Michael was released 2 days after ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted by students.
They interrogated me on an iron chair with my hands and legs tied with ropes. They even tied back my head. One day, my interrogator asked me if I'd been hiding any weapons. When I denied it, he became angry with me and threatened me, saying he would electrocute me in the chair. I was so scared for my life.
2 more detainees were released just hours apart from Michael. But rights groups say there are over 600 victims of enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings detained by Hasina's regime in the last 15 years, most of whom were her political opponents.
Bring our loved ones back to us.
Maya Dak, an organization fighting for the families of the missing people, hopes with the fall of Sheikh Hasina, more victims could be found.
We want the information about these disappearances to be publicly released. We have 3 main demands. First, to prosecute those behind these disappearances. Secondly, the formation of a committee to investigate these human rights violations. And thirdly, to release these innocent victims and close down the secret detention centers.
Human rights activists accuse Sheikh Hasina of using repression as one of her main strategies to stay in power.
Hasina has been in power. She has had no proper opposition in the parliament. And when you are in power and when you are totally divorced from people and you are not allowing anyone to talk, disappearances signify that you're afraid of people, you're afraid of any kind of dissent, you're afraid of any kind of difference in views.
The head of the interim government, Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, met with the families of the disappeared and has promised to deliver justice to the victims.
That's it for this edition of Access Asia. From all of us on the team, thank you very much for watching.